Long ago in the great kingdom of Orior, something strange happened. The sky turned red, the wind howled. Trees shook without reason. Animals grew restless, and the people looked up, whispering, "What is coming?" Inside the royal palace, Queen Torosi was in labor. The air was hot and thick, as if the world itself was waiting. Just as her cries reached their peak, a deafening thunder rolled across the sky and a bolt of lightning struck. The ancient Irako tree in the palace yard, that tree had stood for centuries, untouched. But now, it was split in two, and then the child was born. He did not cry like other babies. His voice sounded like the wind itself, strong and clear. The flames of nearby lamps flickered, and for a moment, the storm paused. Even the air seemed to listen. The high priest entered, soaked from the rain, and looked at the newborn wrapped in cloth. He raised his hands and declared, "This is no ordinary prince. The gods have marked him. He will command the storms and carry ancient wisdom. His rise will shake kings, and his fall will be remembered forever." They named him Sango, the child of thunder. That night, the storm danced until morning, and across Orior, people knew the world had changed. As the years passed, Sango's strength became legend in Orior. His voice, it was whispered, could command the skies. He mastered the sacred bata drums, not just to call to war, but to speak to the spirits of thunder itself. Wandering sorcerers taught him incantations, secret words older than memory, and slowly the boy became a storm. At this time, the throne of Orior belonged to his elder brother, Ajaka, a gentle, peace-loving man in a land built for war. The chiefs of Orior, fearing weakness, deposed Ajaka, and in the shadow of a restless nation, Sango rose. He claimed the title Alarfin of Orior, ruler of the empire, and with the fire of gods at his fingertips, the kingdom bowed. But a king is not truly a king without love and loyalty at his side. And Sango had 3 wives, each a story, each a storm in her own right. Orbar was his first love, devoted and kind. She was his peace, the gentle hand upon his fury. Orshun, goddess of the river, was his beauty, wise, playful, and unpredictable, a woman whose very presence softened the king's storms. And then there was Oryar, fierce, fearless, a warrior in her own right. She was the tempest that matched his fire, the only woman who dared challenge his rage. Together, they shaped the destiny of their land. And as Sango conquered lands and expanded his empire, his wives warred in the palace, not with blades, but with hearts. They fought for his attention, for his affection. It was Oya who went to the battles with him. She was not just his wife, she was his equal. Oryar rode beside him into battle, her hair wild in the wind, her voice rising over the clash of swords. They won many battles together, and the kingdom knew peace. For a while. As Sango's power grew, so did his enemies. The kingdom of Orior was vast, stretching from dense forests to open savannas. But within its borders, rival warlords whispered in dark corners. Some chiefs envied the young king's rise. Others feared his temper. And then there was Bonka, a ruthless warlord whose name made children hide, and warriors gripped their swords tighter. Bonka had once fought beside Sango, a brother in arms. But power makes even friends uneasy. As the Alarfin's lightning storms claimed village after village, and his name rose like a storm cloud over the land, Bonka began to plot. Beyond Orior's borders, neighboring kingdoms watched. Iberiba, to the north, sent warriors to test Oyo's strength. Nupe raiders attacked trading caravans. The peace Sango dreamed of was crumbling. But the greatest challenge was not from outside. It came from his own court. Some of the Orior Mesi, the Council of Elders, grew tired of Shango's storms and endless battles. They whispered of restoring Ajaka, the gentle prince. The drums of war beat louder, not just against enemies of the crown, but from within his own palace walls. And Shango, proud and unyielding, would not beg for loyalty. He would take it by force. In that year, the skies darkened, warriors spoke of omens. Crops failed, the river rose, and the Bada drums called men to war. First came Iberiba. They struck from the north, swift and brutal. Shango, with his double-headed axe and thunderstone, led his men to meet them on the plains of Ibora. The battle raged for 3 days. Shango stood at the front, calling down lightning upon enemy camps. When it was over, the Iberiba chiefs lay in the dust, their war banners torn and burning. Next, the kingdom of Nupe dared Orior's wrath. They raided markets and captured villages. This time, Shango did not wait. He led his army across the Ogun River, storm clouds thick above them. The Nupe king, confident in his numbers, marched to face them. But he had never seen a man command the storm. On the eve of battle, the skies cracked open. Fire rained from the heavens, setting enemy camps ablaze. In the chaos, Orior's warriors struck. It said the ground trembled with the fury of the fight, and the rivers ran red. But no war shook the kingdom like the battle against Bonka. Bonka, once a trusted general, had gathered his own army, declaring himself a king in his own right. He took villages, executed loyal chiefs, and declared war on Orior itself. Shango was furious. He sent word, "Meet me at Koso." And there, on a storm-heavy afternoon, the two warriors met. Thousands of men watched as Shango, wrapped in red, lightning flashing at his fingertips, faced the man who had betrayed him. Their duel was the stuff of legend. Axes clashed, fire danced, thunder shook the earth. The people of Koso fled as the sky turned black. At last, Shango struck Bonka down with a bolt from the heavens. The Storm King was victorious. The land bowed before him. Enemies fled. The Oyo Mesi, now fearful of the power they had tried to tame, swore loyalty once more, and for a time, peace returned. But the drums of war are never silent for long. In the court of Orior, among Shango's 3 wives, one name stirred both admiration and fear: Oria. They called her the Tempest Queen, a woman of unmatched spirit, fierce beauty, and a warrior's heart. She was not born of royalty, nor raised in a palace. Oria was the daughter of a fearless hunter, a child of the wind and rain. From a young age, she could hear the call of storms, and the rivers spoke her name. When Shango first met Oya, it was not at a gathering of nobles, but on the battlefield. She led a small band of warriors, defending a village caught between warring factions. Cloaked in red and armed with twin blades, she fought like a storm incarnate. Shango, witnessing her rage and command over the winds, saw in her a kindred spirit. He took her as a wife, not out of tradition, but out of respect. In the palace, Oria was no ordinary queen. She rode into battle beside Shango, her hair loose in the wind, wielding her spears like a dancer. It was said that when Oria screamed her battle cry, the skies darkened and enemy warriors faltered. More than a warrior, she was his most trusted advisor. It was Oria who warned Shango of Bonka's betrayal. It was Oya who led a secret force through the marshes to strike at enemy camps while others fought in the open. Her courage saved the kingdom more than once. But her significance went beyond war. Oria was the only one who could temper Shango's rage. When the Storm King's fury grew wild, it was her voice that calmed the lightning in his veins. In the quiet of the palace, they spoke not as king and wife, but as 2 souls forged in fire and thunder. The people loved her. The warriors honored her. And even the Orior Mesi, though wary of her influence, could not deny the force she was. In time, stories claimed that Oya herself held dominion over the winds and the gates between life and death. She became known as the Orisha of the tempest, a guardian of the storm and a protector of souls. To this day, when the wind howls before a storm, the Yoruba say, "Oya rides." And the brave remember the woman who stood by the storm king, not in his shadow, but at his side. The drums of war thundered through Oyor. Word had spread that Ilara, a once loyal town, had rebelled against the crown. Their leader, Akinoro, emboldened by whispers of jealousy and greed, defied Sango's rule, capturing villages and blocking trade paths. Sango summoned his chiefs to the great hall. The brass torches flickered, their flames dancing against ancient walls. His voice was sharp as thunder. "A kingdom that tolerates rebellion will drown in its own shame. We march at dawn." Oshun, his beloved wife and keeper of wisdom, stepped forward with a charm wrapped in red cloth. "The gods favor not only the strong but the wise. Take this, my lord. Let it shield your spirit," she said, pressing it into his palm. The dawn sky darkened as if the heavens themselves grieved. Sango, with his axe of lightning and his warriors at his back, charged toward Ilara. Thunder rumbled, and lightning cracked open the clouds. Villagers hid, whispering in fear, "The Storm King comes." The battle was fierce. Akinoro's men fought like cornered beasts, but no mortal could stand against the fury of a god-king. Sango called upon his ancestors, his voice lost within the storm. Bolts of lightning struck enemy ranks. Warriors dropped their weapons and fled, crying, "No man can fight the heavens." By nightfall, Ilara was his. Sango showed mercy, sparing the innocent and restoring order. His people hailed him not just as king, but as a god. Yet in the shadows of Oyor, envy festered. Jealous chiefs and fearful allies whispered against him. They claimed no man should wield the power of the gods. His own brothers, Timi and Kori, grew wary of his strength. Even some of his closest friends began to distance themselves. The gods, too, watched with unease. For though Sango had power, pride had taken root in his heart. One stormy night, a heated argument broke out in the palace. Sango's rivals accused him of tyranny, of bringing ruin through unchecked rage. His anger flared. He called down thunder to prove his might. But something went wrong. The storm turned wild, uncontrolled. A bolt of lightning struck the palace roof, setting it ablaze. Panicked, the people cried, "The gods have turned against him!" Ashamed and heartbroken, Sango fled Oyor. He wandered alone, his spirit heavy with regret. Oshun wept in silence, watching the man she loved vanish into the night. Some say he took his own life by hanging. Others claim he vanished into the heavens, becoming a god. But the storms never ceased. And to this day, when lightning splits the sky, the people of Oyo whisper, "Sango lives on." The storm had passed. The fire no longer danced in the skies, and the ground no longer trembled beneath the weight of his fury. Sango, the mighty, the feared, the beloved, was gone. Yet his absence felt louder than thunder. In the hearts of the people, a question echoed. Was he man, or was he something more? Whispers turned to prayers. Stories became scripture. Some said he was taken by the heavens in a spiral of lightning. Others claimed he walked into the flames of the earth and vanished, unburnt. But all agreed on one thing. Sango was not ordinary. Not truly, not ever. Shrines rose where his feet once stood. In Oyo, in distant villages, even in the forests where thunder once struck, they carved his name into iron and wood. Priests invoked his spirit when the sky grew dark. Drums beat in his rhythm. Chants echoed his name like thunder rolling through time. Mothers named their sons after him. Warriors carried charms carved with his emblem. Kings ruled in his shadow, and beyond the coasts of Yoruba land, across oceans torn by chains and sorrow, his name found new breath. In Brazil, in Cuba, in Trinidad, in Haiti, they called him Sango, the thunder god who could not be forgotten. Enslaved people, stripped of everything, still held on to his fire. They danced his dances, sang his songs, kept his lightning alive in secret shrines and open hearts. Centuries passed. Empires fell. But when the sky cracked with thunder, the elders still nodded and said, "He speaks." For Sango, child of thunder, king of fire, had not fallen. He had risen into godhood, and so his legacy burned on, not in silence but in storms.